Get schmovin', you know.
Do I know?
Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GamerZone. I'm your host, Andrew Bennett, as always, but tonight we happen to have, these crazy kids with us. We've got Matt,
Crazy.
we've got Jordan,
Hello.
and I also will say that we have Trey, but it appears that between the point where Trey agreed to appear on the show tonight and join the voice call with us, he has apparently passed out or gone to a Walmart. I'm not sure which one. We'll find out momentarily. He is, however, represented here, even if he is dead, by what I like to refer to as the placeholder Gengar.
Placeholder Gengar.
It's beautiful. It's my child.
Honestly, kind of fits the aesthetic, not gonna lie.
Yeah. I mean, you just want to have that chaotic energy of the placeholder Gengar. That's what I
He
try.
is chaotic. It's perfect.
Right. That's what I have to try and hold myself to in life. Oh
I
boy.
see.
Well, fellas, while we wait on Trey to get back and for everything to go well, suppose we might as well ask the ever important question: how are you doing?
I'm doing all right.
That's good.
Basically, kind of been chilling today. It's my off day,
Hmm.
so.
You been playing
Uh,
any fun video games lately?
I've been playing Xenoverse 2,
Hmm.
which they actually announced a new free update for Xenoverse 2. I can't remember right offhand when it's supposed to release, but we can talk about it later.
Okay. Yeah, I saw a little
So,
bit of information about that. I saw that they added like a bunch of artwork for the loading screens and stuff, as well
yeah.
as new missions and costumes and everything. I'm really surprised that Xenoverse 2 is still getting the amount of support it gets. I mean, we might have spoken about it on the show before, I think, but let's see. I'm trying to remember when that released, Xenoverse 2. Late 2016. So yeah, that's going on 4 years of support. That's really good, especially for,
Yeah.
you've got a fighting game that has been like, I guess Fighter Z doesn't supersede it, but
Yeah. It's also it's more like a MMO than other Dragon Ball games are.
hmm,
It's not. It is. You can play with a bunch of random people, and they do have like large lobbies and stuff, but it's uh, it's different from all the other Dragon Ball games there are.
hmm,
So it's also one of the few. I think it's the only one where you can make your own character. If
huh,
I'm not mistaken, is the first game, and then this one.
huh, that's really
So
interesting.
yeah,
I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen a full-on traditional MMO style Dragon Ball MMO. But I feel like that would be one of those properties that would do really well in that area.
yeah. I think Xenoverse was actually their take on that
Mm.
because the way they do it is there's like the normal story mode, which is all single player, but with other players you can there's a parallel quest that you can do all of them with other players, and then there are raids that you can do with other players.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the raids are 6-man raids, and then the all the parallel quests are only three people. Like you can do them solo,
Mm-hmm.
but you can do them all with other people.
Mm.
Whenever you do the raid solo, it just takes a bunch of random players who are offline, and their characters are used as NPCs to help you out.
That's a really interesting idea. I wonder if is it like based off of how they play, or are they just like put in as like an AI?
It's if their stats are higher in like blast, then generally they'll use more blast, but usually they won't use stuff like transformations and stuff. It's still more beneficial to play with real players versus with AI.
Hmm. Okay. Because I know that
So
the Forza Horizon games, as well as obviously like mainline motorsport has a thing where like your friends' gamer tags will show up in races against AI, and those cars will behave like your friends would, which is a neat idea. And then Forza, I know Horizon 3 had a bit of it, and then I think 4 went all in it with the online aspects, where it's got that pseudo MMO thing to it as well, and a lot of it is with players who are offline. But it still follows that AI thing where it is trained on how they play the game and plays like them, which is still a absurdly cool idea to me. I would love to see more games that do things like that. There's just like something about like training a non-playable character on a player's movements and play style that just strikes me as extremely interesting. Like this also does relate to Dragon's Dogma, which we're going to be talking about a bit later tonight with the Netflix anime getting a trailer and a release date and all that. It's neat. It's really neat.
Yeah. I will say that one thing that I enjoy about the way like I was saying how it uses other players as NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
It also applies to your character, obviously. So whenever you're offline, your character it's considered automatic patrol or offline patrol. I can't remember exactly what it's called right offhand,
Mm-hmm.
but your character will gain a little bit of experience and a little bit of like money. Sometimes we'll pick up items for helping players out with stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think
Yeah,
Forza has a similar thing where it's like these like you log in and it's like, well, here are your race rewards from races with friends and randoms and stuff like that. It's cool. I think my first interaction with style of stuff where other players' offline characters would show up in your game. Funny enough, I want to say that it was like Wii Sports Resort or something where they used that Wii Connect 24, which was Nintendo's online service at the time, and it would show other people's Mii's randomly in the audience, in the stadiums, and whatnot, in the different mini games while you played them. And that always struck me as a really cool idea.
yeah. It in my opinion, yeah, it is a really cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. So Matthew, what kind of video games have you been playing lately? See, if I say it in that tone, it implies you're playing something different than what you actually are. So I'm just going to keep on, using my implying tone, Matthew.
Yeah, pretty much the only things I've been playing is FF14 and Xenoverse 2, just like him.
Hmm. What you doing in Final Fantasy, huh, Matthew?
I've been preparing to get ready for them Savage raids.
Hmm. Yeah, I almost feel bad about
Them
using this
Savage
implying
raids.
voice, but it's kind of fun. What kind of
what
savage
is that
raids,
supposed to mean,
Matthew?
man?
Okay, this silence is deserved. I'm dropping the implying voice.
Ooh.
Oh man. But for real, what you been up to with those?
I mean, I've ran just about every expert raid other than the Shadowbringer one, so
Oh
I've been
boy.
getting my gear up and getting ready for the Savage.
Yeah, I know that the Shadowbringers extremes and savages, they're out there. They're really really out there. Lauren has shown me a bit of them. Chase also has two, and then there's the what have you that I find on YouTube every now and again because just out of curiosity.
Yeah, from what I've seen, the Shadowbringers experts look a lot similar to a little certain something called Savage rating. Looks very similar. Not quite, but it's close.
Yeah. Shadowbringers. It appears that one of the things I don't really like about FF14 is how with every single update they appear to like take out more and more complexity, but it does appear that like what they're doing instead is, I guess you could almost call it erasing the middle ground, because A lot of the complexity leaves the actual game mechanics, making the normal story content very easy to do. It leaves your leveling process fairly easy to do. You don't have much to worry about what with the class in the early areas. These things only really start to matter once you get into savage and high-end content in the game, where all of a sudden it's about min-maxing your gear, your items, making sure, and like the part where you start using potions of mind and dexterity and stuff that give you like a 5-second bonus to an attack power, and that becomes a regular part of your rotation. That's the point where it's unreal to me. I could never do that. That's the point where I'm not playing a video game. I'm playing a spreadsheet. Nothing against people that are into that, but it's very much an extreme. And no pun intended with the name.
It's definitely a rough thing to get into, and I've been trying to watch videos up on it to prepare myself for my first Savage raids and stuff, and
Yeah.
It's gonna be rough, man. But I mean, you know me, I'm in it for the loot.
Yeah. Man, it's like I can't blame you. I'm like I also do see like the appeal to it at the same time because especially with the new Savage content on the day that it releases and stuff, like I see, groups with that folks like Lauren and Chase going into do all those day one, and I'm just kind of sitting here in the back and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll just do the crafter content. But I see the appeal. Like, sure, okay. FF14 is very heavily built around trial and error on release day for dungeons and mechanics and stuff, but it's still really satisfying, I think, to figure out those mechanics. And then eventually you get to the point where, okay, it's really that new part of the cycle where this is brand new content. So you can just go with friends, and you and your friends can start talking about all the different strategies you've picked up along the way. You get to share those, or if you're helping a friend go through content for the first time, you're the guy in that friend group. You're the one person there who knows how to do the damn thing, and it's fun. It's really fun. So I can see the appeal there, but it almost feels like it would be too much for me. I don't know. I just find that type of stuff overwhelming, but that might just be a case of, well, it's overwhelming until you actually get into it.
Yeah, that's the way I've thought about the Stormblood experts. Like a lot of people were hyping it up, and they were like, "Oh, it's not going to be as easy as the Heavensward ones." And I mean, they're right. I mean, they're a bit tankier. They do a bit more damage. There's a bit more mechanics, but once you get in there and you do a couple of runs on it, it's not that bad. So, and I've heard some people say the same thing about Savage rating. Once you get in there and get some firsthand experience, it's not that bad. But they say that there's no doubt that you're going to wipe the first few times you do it.
Oh, of course. I feel like it would be very disappointing if that wasn't the case. I mean, if you're going to this extremely challenging content, if you don't die at least once, I mean, is it really that difficult?
What's the point?
Right. So Jordan, what are your thoughts on, high-end Savage rating?
I feel like it's something that if you think that you'll have fun with it, then you probably will. But if it's not something that you think you're going to be into, because it is like, sure, it's the same logic as like he said, that it's something that first few times it might be a little rough, but after you play it for a while, it's it'll get easier.
Yeah.
Well, you'll become better at it. It won't become easier, but you'll be better at it. So
the same difference, honestly.
Yeah, it just depends on whether or not you want to spend the time to do that, or because like another thing is whether or not you can you like playing with randoms as well.
Yeah.
Because like I'll the way I play is I prefer playing with people that I know, but usually it's harder to be able to run stuff like that if you limit who you play with. So
yeah, that's another thing. I always thought to myself, like, I'll do this stuff on the condition that I have a group of 7 other people that I know personally that are willing to do that, because I am not the most social butterfly as of late, I'll admit. I'm trying to work on that. But on top of that layer, you also have the fact that, like, you get to this high-end MMO content, and people get very, very... what's the word? Eager to complain?
Toxic. Toxic is the word.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's better. I was hoping to, dodge Britney Spears driving to my house and punching me into the face for, not referencing her hit song, but I just did it, so I'm safe for today.
Really, I did it. So if anybody's gonna be punching me in the face, I'd like it to be Britney Spears.
I mean, yeah, there's two types of people in this world: those who don't want to get punched in the space. Wow, punched in the face by Britney Spears, and those who would eagerly be punched in the face by Britney Spears. And Matthew, my friend, you are most definitely the latter.
I am number 2 all the way.
We'll let the listeners, think out, mat out what that means, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I'll let them start their own conspiracy theories.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's so much of a conspiracy theory, but we'll see.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
Just
pretty
punch me in the face, please.
Pretty straightforward. Brittany, please come to my house, punch me, break my teeth. It's okay. You can say it's Brittany, bitch, when you hit me. Ugh.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I mean, I'm not the one who wants Britney Spears to punch me in the face.
So what are you saying? I'm not fine?
I mean, I'm saying you're fine, but you're also the one who wants Britney Spears to punch you in the face, Matt. So, I mean, I'm not sure what you really expected.
Is something wrong with that?
Oh, only if you want it to be. Only if you
want
it.
What is that supposed to mean?
I want it to be. I do want it to be.
Okay, well, in that case, moving on to the next topic. Lately, what I've been doing personally, I've been kind of busy with work as of late. So when it comes to video games, yeah, most of what I've played has been FF14. I have been looking around some stuff on Game Pass lately. Like I tried out Spiritfarer, which I think I need to give another shot. My first impressions of it weren't too terribly positive. But a lot of that is very much personal preference. It's a game that is exceptionally well made. Visually, it's stunning. But when it comes to the actual story, I'm not too terribly intrigued, and the game, at least in its early hours, is not as gameplay focused as I was hoping for. Like, all power to the devs, they get to make the game they want, but I also, get to give the opinion that I want to give. And that opinion I happen to have is, when I compare games to Persona 4, that can go in a couple of ways. It could be the style, it could be the story, it could be, presentation, great things. Or it could be that it takes like 3 hours before you actually get to the actual game. And that's the thing that makes it really hard for me to replay Persona 4, because it's just... Persona 4's opening is a slog. Sue me, whatever. And there's a couple games I've noticed lately that fall into the same traps of it. It's just this unyielding amount of exposition and narrative with little to no gameplay to break it up. And I think I played around an hour of Spiritfarer. I didn't read too terribly quickly, but at the same time, even in that hour, it's like, I don't want to keep skipping these conversations. And I didn't skip those conversations. I don't want to skip all these conversations. I want to read your story. I want to enjoy it. But also, there's a balance in your opening hours, especially. Like, I think, like, later in the game, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But in your early opening moments of that game, I want to actually play the game. Maybe it's, And it's like that's very much a me thing. I think the game's very well made. A lot of people do seem to enjoy it. So, if the art style strikes you, I would recommend absolutely going to look at it, because there's a growing number of games out there that, despite not being for me, I can still tell are very well made, and I know a lot of people will probably enjoy checking it out. And Spiritfarer seems to be that way. And it's like, it's on Game Pass. If you're not a Game Pass subscriber right now, I think they got a deal where you can get it for $1. They tend to run those pretty often on PC, especially. If you're not a Game Pass subscriber, The PC version is $5 a month right now. So, yeah, that's all deals aside. You can just hop on over there and check that out, as well as a multitude of other games, including yet not limited to Final Fantasy VII, which I figured I would check out the PC release of that, and I'm quite happy to say it's pretty good. I did not expect it to hold up as well as it really does. Like, the main issue that comes in with the original FF7 for me is that on a PlayStation 1 or at original resolution, the character models and backgrounds looked far more fitting together than they do right now. Because it's like, yeah, I'll play this game at 1080p, nice solid HD resolution. All the 3D models are at that resolution. That's nice. Now here's the tricky part. Pre-rendered 3D backgrounds. And I know that people have made mods to the PC version where they AI upscale the backgrounds and stuff, but I did not actually purchase the PC version. I mean, I'm playing off of Game Pass, and while some Game Pass games on PC do support modding, I don't think the PC version of FF7 is one of them, so that's kind of unfortunate, but it's also something I can very much live with. The game's style of writing is very fun. The game's combat is very fun, which is the part that surprised me most, because the PC version's menus run at 15 frames per second, like the actual combat, when on PlayStation 1 they ran at, I want to say, 30, and felt far more responsive. So, you feel some lag for sure in there, but even still, it's a good version of the game so far, and I can most definitely recommend giving it a go. I even managed to play just fine on mouse and keyboard, and didn't really have anything to complain about. And FF7 is, just a good game, so, go give that a go.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Yeah, generally I'm usually just content if a game's just fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
See, like, graphically speaking, there's a lot of games I play that don't really necessarily have good graphics that I enjoy still.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, sure, it's good for something to look nice, but I'd much rather play something that I enjoy and is fun to play compared to just something that you just walk around and look at stuff.
Yeah, that's entirely fair. I'm generally not a graphics guy, though. When you go back to those like really early PS1 titles and stuff, that's where you can kind of lose me in that area.
Yeah, like if I had to choose between graphics and gameplay, I'd choose gameplay any day, but there's still a level of graphics that needs to be hit there, or else it's just gonna throw me off.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, I own all of these Star Wars Dark Forces / Jedi Knight titles, okay? And a couple years ago, I said to myself, you know what? I'm just going to play all these games, start to finish, because they're good games. And they are good games. However, it hit a point where, when playing at a modern resolution, a lot of these textures, which, mind you, were also developed with CRTs in mind, which displayed colors differently than your modern displays would, a lot of the things just looked incomprehensible. And I don't know if some of it is just texture size limits, or if this is the case where things, by all means, looked far, far better on hardware of the time because of that CRT difference. I mean, there's, especially like the further back you go, I can't remember the title of it. I saw this tweet, like 2 years ago. So if anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, by all means, hit me up. But it was of a very early PC dungeon crawler, and it showed a comparison of how the sprite for a skeleton in the game looked like on modern hardware, emulated, or a modern display, which was pretty flat, pretty boring, like your usual like one color enemy. That was how it looked, very flat. And then they displayed it on an actual CRT. And when displayed on an actual CRT, that enemy had like an insane amount of depth to it. It looked incredibly good. Like, it was sprite work that I would say even still holds up, but not if you displayed it on a modern display. So, like with a lot of those older games, that's a trap that some of them can fall into that really gets me. There's some detail that, like, they did not expect us to stop using CRTs and tube TVs 20 years down the line when they made these games.
Yeah, I I suppose you're right in that respect. Though, let's see. There was something I wanted to bring up, but I forgot. Um, what was I'm gonna hold my thought. If I remember, I'll bring it up later.
Okay.
You're free to carry on.
Okay. But yeah, aside from those games, I mean, not too terribly much else lately. Like, I've been watching Log Horizon while exercising, and I'll watch like 2 episodes of that every time I exercise. So I'm making my way through it very slowly, trying not to break my legs. But I'm enjoying that show a lot so far. That was a pleasant surprise. It's
It's a really good show. I need to watch the second season. I've seen the first season already.
mm-hmm.
I've yet to watch the second season.
Jordan, you want to become long distance gym bros? Just watch Log Horizon every time we exercise.
Well, I did just buy an exercise bike, so I might take up on
I've
that
been
option.
using an exercise bike this whole time, so
Well,
it's
I
it's
mean,
happening.
possibly. I just need to set up my exercise bike. And main time that I could probably use it is like after 6 most days.
Even still, long distance gym bros, it's happening.
I'm done.
Yeah, it's happening. But yeah, no, Log Horizon season 1 so far has been really fun. I love, absolutely adore, really, these shows that are, I guess you could say it's a lot, very much about the buildup of watching, Shiro scheme and plan and plot and everything, and then the big reveal where it all plays out, the playoff to that. Like, I love it. It's really fun. I remember, I think the last time I felt that way about a show was probably Code Geass. And just like watching Lelouch's schemes, come to fruition was the most fun part of that show. Though it did have the absolutely absurdly cool giant mech battles that I'm totally fine with Log Horizon not having. But it's like they so rarely use action scenes so far, very early on. But like when it actually does happen, it's very rewarding. I feel. And there's something to be said about sparingly using action and having that act as a reward for continuing in the story, more or less, because that's part of the
Yeah.
payoff to these plans.
It also shows that it does that a show doesn't have to be constant action in order for it to be good.
Oh, absolutely. I'm also like pleasantly surprised to see that like most of the people that like talk to Log Horizon up to me are like your mainline standard quote unquote anime viewers. Like when I say standard anime viewers, that's not like a put down or anything. I'm just saying that these are the same type of guys that like Sword Art Online. We are a different type of people. um, and yeah, they were the ones that originally talked it up to me, and they were like, "Well, no, it's not like the other stuck in an MMO anime. This is about like actually surviving in the world." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm sold." Like the idea of it being about their actual survival there is exceedingly interesting to me. And lo and behold, it actually is. I like it.
Yeah. The way they talk about a lot of stuff, I kind of get a little lost because they go into a lot of detail about some stuff that I just kind of sit there. And I'm like, huh. I need to rewatch that to fully understand what they said.
Yeah, yeah. That's the point where we split. I look over that and it's like, yeah, there's sometimes where I kind of want to pause, rewind a little bit, and check that out, see what they're talking about. But that's the part where it's like, ooh, my brain's activated. I'm reading.
Yeah.
I'm reading
Well,
these
like,
subtitles here. I'm learning. I'm
see,
learning.
for me, what happens is I sometimes I only pay half attention,
Mm.
and that's where it catches me off guard.
Oh, I get you. I feel like every now and again there's gonna be that point where I mean I'm a little more focused because like I'm doing it while exercising and it's like I need to keep my mind on this television or I'm going to think about how much my legs are going to hurt when I get off this exercise bike. um, so I try to focus on that. Though if somebody texts me or something and I have to go look at my phone, yeah, my immersion is broken. But still, it's a fun show.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember. It's been a few months since I've watched it, but I do remember there's quite a few like moments where it was just straight up funny.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Mm-hmm.
the humor of the show to me was one of the main things I stayed for because I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it's really good. I've also been starting a rewatch of Gun Sword lately, which is I feel like you could make a very long list of every single anime that I like from the mid 90s to the mid to late 2000s that is effectively described as this is a space western with a really cool protagonist. And maybe he's a bounty hunter, maybe he's looking for revenge, something of that sort. Either way, he is exceedingly cool. He's got a cool looking design. Somebody absolutely put this guy in their signature with a like super photoshopped picture of him back in like 2003. That's a style I go for. And like you can go down the list of like Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, Gun Sword, and a few others that aren't really coming to mind at the moment. But that's very much heavily my style of show. And I first watched it 5 or 6 years ago. I haven't really, touched anything related to it since. And then Colton was playing Super Robot Wars T and started posting some quotes from the protagonist in that game. And I was like, yeah, good time as any to rewatch Gunsword. And so it's even more fun than I remembered it being, just because my taste in shows has shifted to allow me to enjoy a slower pace than I did when I was like 16. So I've been having fun with that. Weird, surrealist, tribal, sci-fi, western, space mecha, and also Mexican Power Rangers. Drunk, old, retired Mexican Power Rangers. It's a blast.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
There's a bit from that show that if you don't intend to watch it, I would say at least look at the one scene from this show. It's on YouTube or something, under the title of something related to the Eldora 5 or Eldorado 5, and it's maybe like a 7 or 8 minute long clip. Shockingly good quality for the year it was uploaded in, with good enough subtitles. If you just want to see, my favorite crew of Mexican Power Rangers, but the whole show I really do think is enjoyable. Now like when I first watched it years ago, I was like, yeah, the first half is boring, but I mean it's good enough, and then the second half is where things get going. And I'm watching it now, and I'm like, what was I thinking? It's like this whole first half is really good. What was I thinking? And it's like, no, Andy, what you were thinking is you are a 16-year-old. Where's the explosions? Where's Michael Bay? You tried to hide the fact that you liked those Transformers movies, Andy. Shut up.
Yeah.
I've got.
Oh, Matt, your mic. Oh, is he with us? Matthew, my boy, you gotta adjust them cables again.
Running into some problems.
Technical difficulties. We're professionals, but we can handle them. Oh.
Here. Here.
Oh boy. Well, that was not something we were anticipating.
There's a possibility his headset might be broken.
With our luck,
That's
I feel like that's pretty fitting.
that's no bueno.
Oh no. Trey is lost in a Walmart somewhere. Matt's headset breaks. Jordan, it's you and me now. We have to save the day. We gotta do this.
Yeah. I suppose I could just unmute mine and then just like stand uncomfortably close to Matt.
Uncomfortably close is good. Let's see how that works. While y'all
Alright,
are
hold on.
While they work that out, I might as well just work in a little bit of news here. As I look at Twitter, there is a Mega Man franchise sale on the Switch eShop right now, in the United States at the very least, that runs until September 1st. You can get Mega Man Legacy Collection for $9.99, Mega Man 11 for $14.99, Mega Man Legacy Collection 2 for $9.99, and also Mega Man X Legacy Collection for $9.99 as well, and Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2 for, you guessed it, $9.99. They also have a hefty discount there on the Mega Man Zero/ZX Legacy Collection, which happens to include, as the name implies, all of the Zero and all of the ZX games on one purchase for $22.49, which is quite the good deal because you've got 4 Zero games, 2 ZX games, so that's 6 really good games for $22. And I know that this is a market that has been very devalued over the past couple of years, especially with, like, you've got your Humble Bundles, you've got Fanatical, you've got heavy Steam sales and everything, really lowering the value of games to the point that, why, $22 for 6 games almost seems like highway robbery to some folks. But, I mean, that comes out to a little over, $3.50 for each game, so, I mean, I'm not sure I'm allowed to complain there. Especially when I really like all of those. The Mega Man Zero games on the GBA are some of my personal favorite little platformers, even if they are mind-numbingly brutal. Absolutely mind-numbingly brutal. Especially Zero 1. I think that, really, above all else, Mega Man Zero 1 is a fine example of what happens when you make a game a little too hard. But I do like the story of it quite a bit still, and I think Z2 is a good game, Z3 is the pinnacle of the Game Boy Advance, and Mega Man 04 is fun. I'll let you, make up in your own mind what that means exactly. Go play Mega Man 0, 3, and 4. You'll find out.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Alright, what was Let me see. We're gonna test this out real quick.
Okay.
Matt?
We're testing in
Hello?
production, folks.
Hello? Yes. Hello?
Matt might need to be a little louder there.
Can you hear me?
It sounds like you're in a tunnel, Matt. Can you hear me?
I'll just I guess I'll handle most of the speaking, and then if Matthew has a word or two he wants to say, I can move a little bit closer to him.
I mean, I feel like
or
Matt could move closer to you. Matt can just go try to whisper in your ear, and it'll actually go in the microphone instead.
yeah, we're right next to each other when
Oh.
that happened.
Oh, jeez. Ugh.
So
I'm gonna have to
anyhow,
get a handy-dandy studio mic sent your way one of these days.
yeah, that probably wouldn't hurt.
Oh boy, but yeah, we are 38 minutes into the broadcast, so I guess we can get to some of the actual show notes that we were going to go over. Happened to discuss let's see some of the things on the docket here as I bring it back up, because I didn't really expect that conversation to go on as long as it did. A mild update on the Apple versus Epic case from last week that we discussed. The judge has now issued her official temporary order. Epic Games is not granted relief to get Fortnite back on the App Store, but she is ordering Apple to not block development/distribution of Unreal Engine, which was the huge part. This news comes from Mark Gurman, who is a popular Apple reporter. He's got a thread on Twitter with some of the details of the case, and what really sticks out to me here is the judge points out that there is no choice of an app store on the iPhone, meaning the App Store is the only way to download apps. Apple's lawyer rebuffs, saying the competition is in which phone you choose to buy. And I find that an interesting detail because I'm more than willing to say that they're not wrong. But as mentioned previously, we're going into a real duopoly of operating systems here.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, your competition. You have an operating system made by Google. You have an operating system made by Apple. Those are your choices. You don't get any others. You have developers that have customized Google's operating system, like Samsung, OnePlus, and Huawei. But even still, I'm willing to say
How about the Windows phones?
Windows Phone's been dead for years. Um, I miss it every day. Windows Phone 8.1 was a wonderful little operating system. It wasn't perfect. It had heavy flaws. But at the same time, it ran exceedingly well on weak hardware. It had a great user experience, I thought. And it's, so far, I would say, the one mobile operating system that I would claim is an actual joy to use. Android has come close every now and again, but it's still pretty disjointed in some spots. And Microsoft's like even releasing an Android phone later this year, so womp womp womp. Not really many options there.
Yeah.
It's disappointing to me, because that's how we get into situations like this. I feel like once web apps become more and more popular, and progressive web apps are getting fairly good anymore, I think if we hit a point where progressive web apps become the main method of app distribution, every single company that it could be called literally who would be able to release and maintain their own mobile operating system. Maybe they could take some cues from Android, look at the open source code there, get some ideas from them to get going, and then just heavily fork it, much like Google has done to Linux multiple times, to the point where Chrome OS and Android are unrecognizable from your usual air quotes Linux. So maybe we could see some of that, but that I would not expect for a good 20 years. I still think that for most of that good 20 years, we're going to be stuck with iOS and Android increasingly just becoming their own little walled gardens. And I don't like it. I don't think the future looks too grand for freedom in the mobile space right now, especially when most Linux phone projects are still just a hobby and a daydream that's not going to be too terribly effective for most of the next decade, I don't think. Maybe in a good 10 years, because 10 years ago I saw a lot of these projects get started, and right now we're seeing some very early phones from them that are about as good as phones were 10 years ago. So Godspeed to you, fellas. Maybe somebody with money will throw some money at you, but I still don't see that becoming a serious contender in the mobile space for a long, long time. I feel like it's more likely that we'll see something replace what we know as, air quotes, the smartphone before we see that. But that's the tech reporter in me speaking.
The whole stuff with like phone stuff, I kind of on the fence either way, because on one hand, we all know why what do you call them? Why Epic's doing this? It's not exactly for what they're saying. It's because they want to make more money.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the whole thing that the competition is buying the phone idea, I don't think that's really the best type of business tactic, but I'm not really that's not really something I major in is business. So I suppose my opinion is too important on that, I suppose.
I still think your view's pretty important there, because okay, sure, I'm the big techie, but also you're far closer to, how do I put this? You're far closer to the normal guy than I am, because my life revolves around, I open Twitter, I check what people are mad about, I close Twitter, I then 3 seconds later reopen Twitter and repeat the cycle. It's called an addiction, Jordan, and I'm so glad that you don't have it.
I suppose that's good. Yeah, for the most part, I basically sleep under a rock through most things. Because a lot of stuff will hit me out of left field where it's just like, oh yes, this and such thing happened, and I'm like, oh, what happened there? And then I usually need people to explain to me what happened exactly.
I'll make a techie out of you yet.
Yeah.
Ugh. But so yeah, that's most of that situation. I mean, I was very heavily considering buying an iPhone because I've grown tired of the lack of support after 2 years on Samsung phones. Like a flagship phone, perfect device. I've got a Galaxy S9 that I love to death. And Samsung, they do not offer major Android updates to that past 2 years into its life cycle. And that just absolutely kills me personally. It's like I spend close to $1,000 on a phone. In fact, I think this model might have been $1,000. So I spend that much money on a phone, and you're just going to tell me that it's not good after 2 years. And it's like, okay, I get it. You have a business to uphold, but also there's other companies out there selling phones, including the most profitable company in the world right now, which happens to be Apple, and they happen to be selling their phones for, at roughly the same price, often, maybe a little more, but they still support them for 5, 6, some I think even got 7 years of major operating system support. And it's like, when it seems like the future for iOS devices is nothing but almost unending support, like it feels like most iPhones are going to break before they stop getting updates, and it's like, why wouldn't I buy that? Especially when iOS 14 is bringing in a bunch of the features that I needed to keep an Android phone for, like changing your default browser and stuff. And it's like, I mean, honestly, I just cannot bring myself to commit to buying another Samsung phone. But also, I can't commit to buying an Apple phone when I see them pulling their mafia tactics like they're doing with a couple of developers that are unrelated to the whole shebang with Epic. I mean, they told WordPress that released a free application to manage a WordPress site that didn't even have to be based on the main WordPress.com domain. It could be your own WordPress site, and the app was to manage that. Anything that ran on WordPress, you can manage it. And Apple suddenly says, you need to add in-app purchases that we can take a 30% cut of. And it's like, what? Somebody releases a free app, and your response is, we need 30% of free. Huh. Interesting. You are the most profitable company in the world for a reason, but I'm not too huge on underhanded tactics like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
weird.
just the whole 30% across the board is quite a big amount to take from stuff.
Yeah.
Especially on a lot of the games that their entire livelihood is like microtransactions.
Right.
Which usually brings them to raise the price of microtransactions to kind of counteract the whole 30%.
Right. And it's like, man, I had a thought here for a second, then it just flew out of my mind. Let's see, let me retrace my steps. Apple, price gouging, microtransactions. Oh, yeah. So this also leads into another topic about Apple that, like, this was maybe, I want to say it's sometime last year, or maybe the year before, but Apple made a deal with Amazon where they said with the 30% cut that they were going to lessen that cut significantly for Amazon, and they said that any other developer would be able to meet the requirements to get that cut put onto their app. However, after at least a year, possibly 2 years, I'm not too great with time anymore, especially what with the virus throwing my schedule out the window. After that period of time, the only developer that has received that lessened cut is Amazon, and Apple has not officially released the requirements for that reduced cut. It's like I wasn't born yesterday, Tim. I wasn't born yesterday. Though you certainly seem to think I am. It's like, what's the requirements for your reduced cut? Is the answer be Amazon? The answer is most likely yes. And Amazon is one of the few companies that would actually have the buyer power to strong arm Apple. Epic
Yeah,
Games would. Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, yeah, Amazon is kind of becoming a powerhouse right now.
More than becoming, I mean, they are the greatest powerhouse. When Jeff Bezos can divorce his wife, or get divorced from his wife, rather, he didn't initiate the proceedings, though she found out he was cheating on her. Um, and she got half of his valuables, Amazon stock, etc., in the divorce. Um, when someone takes 50% of the wealth of the richest man in the world, how long do you think it is going to take him to get that money back? The answer is 3 months, which reveals just the sheer absurd amount of power that Amazon has right now. I've honestly become less and less inclined to buy from them when I can, though there's sometimes where they're the only option, especially when it comes to shipping. And it's like they're that powerful for a reason, but also I try more and more as of late to support more local mom and pop shops and the like.
Yeah, usually, support local is what I tend to do as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's your local community and stuff like that that at work going with them helps keep them afloat. A lot of times, they're more likely to make deals with you compared to a normal like corporation would.
Mm-hmm. And certainly better support.
Yeah.
When I think of quality customer support, I don't think of Amazon. Um, I think of when I had returned an item to them, and 7 months later, 7 months after I sent that item back to them, I got charged for the price of the item and was told your item had not been received. 7 months. Man, it's like it was just $8, so it's like I'm not complaining or anything. It's like, you know what, whatever. I'm not even going to fight it. That's $8. Who am I to care? But also, that's $8 that I quite literally sent back to you. The item was busted. Come on now. But whatever.
Yeah. Which
Whatever.
that also could have been a whole shipping problem as well.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, even still, it was their tracking number. They could track the product. They could know what was happening. They knew I sent it. They knew that that product left my house, and therefore the rest of it was in the hands of the U.S. Postal Service or FedEx or whichever one they were having send it. And it's like, that's not on me, Buster. Charge them $8. Yeah. Oh well. So yeah, absolutely buy local whenever possible, and that's a very good way to live your consumerist life, I think.
Side note, we might need to change the title to this video if possible.
Oh, absolutely. That's the thing that's
Uh,
been panic on my panicked mind for the past 5 minutes.
yeah, it should be Andy talks about phones and shipping.
I'm gonna ship my pants.
Bruh, I already shipped my bed. Well, Matt's bed actually. We got one in yesterday, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Yep. But yeah, I ordered a mattress and it got here yesterday. So
Yeah, this is the episode where I have a relapse and just become a tech journalist again, and it's kind of fun. I like it.
yeah, you seem to like to talk about that type of stuff, man.
I mean, it was my job for a year and a half. We did 68 episodes of the old show. I'm ever so disappointed we didn't get one more in, but that's on me for putting my 2 weeks in of 1 week too early. I could have ended a show with 69 episodes. I think that would have been pretty nice.
Yeah, it would have been.
You want to try
I,
going over some of these other topics that we had on the show notes, or I mean,
um,
it's a little harder, what with it just being the two of us, but
yeah, I think we could either hold on for later or maybe do like we might be able to sneak another podcast in later in the week.
that
When,
would be fun. That would. Hopefully one where Trey doesn't, tell us he's going to be back for the podcast for the first time since our literal first episode, and then vanish into the dark halls of Walmart, never to be seen again. And
Yeah. I
man.
suppose it's also possible he might think it's we start at 10 because that's how we used to do
I
it.
said, well, in the message I sent out, I did say an earlier time. Oh well, we'll work it out. So yeah, I guess some of the quick topics we can go over here before calling it quits on this episode, as I then panic to try and find a more fitting name, because like I was like, yeah, I couldn't think of a name for this episode, so I was like, I'll just go over a couple of topics that we got in the show notes, and I'll put that as the title, and I'll work on it later. Here it is, nearly the end of the show, and we have not talked about any of those 3 topics, nor do I really want to with half the crew gone. So, we'll figure something out. Maybe I will just title this one "Andy Relapses."
That'll work.
That'll get viewers.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
But I think we can probably talk about the you can talk about the Borderlands content, and then I'll talk about Opening Night Live if you want to take a point on the next one.
Okay. Yeah, they announced the new DLC for Borderlands 3, and it's called I think specifically it's called Psycho Krieg and the Fantastic Fustercluck.
Yeah, you got that one right.
And it launches on the 10th of September, so it's not that far away actually. Specifically, they had a teaser trailer, and then they've had the trailer that released today. And from what I'm understanding, basically what you're going to be doing is you're going into Krieg's mind because you're trying to find Valhalla, trying to find the way to Valhalla, and supposedly the only way to find it is in Krieg's mind. And the thing about Krieg is he was from Borderlands 2, and he was a psycho.
Mm-hmm.
That was his class name, and that's what he was. He was not very stable. He had 2 personalities. One of them is sane and is like his inner voice that you can hear sometimes, and the other one is just basically what everyone sees Krieg as, and he doesn't talk in like normal coherent sentences. He screams gibberish most of the time. Like one of my more favorite lines is where he's like, "I have the shiniest meat bicycle." I I really wish I could say it with the same enthusiasm as he does, but he's been one of my favorite characters in the series for a while, so I'm really excited for this. So let's see. I'm trying to think of any other. There's a few other things that they showed that I don't want to talk too much about because it's potentially spoilers.
Yeah, you don't have to go into spoilers though. I mean, they did announce a level cap increase with that.
Yeah. It's supposed to be 5 whole levels.
Yeah, that brings it up to 65.
65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say that that's the largest single level cap increase since launch, and it's also the last planned increase for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, they didn't say that they're not going to increase it later on, but they did say that they're not planning to. So because the way they worded it, they didn't completely say we're not increasing it again, because that might end up being something kind of like with Borderlands 2, whenever they added DLC for it that came out after the pre-sequel did. They raised the level cap I think it was another 12 levels for it. And they added new content to the game, despite the fact it was older than the pre-sequel.
Yeah, Borderlands 2 it was in this weird situation where it's like it seemed like it was never going to stop getting supported almost. Even after pre-sequel, they kept putting out all sorts of new stuff for it.
Yeah, see, like with Borderlands 2, it had a lot of fan favorite characters. because that was somewhat of the problem with the prequel. Is some of the characters weren't as likable, and just about every character that you played in the prequel, you ended up killing in Borderlands 2.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I never got that far in two. At least to
Yeah.
my
Well,
memory.
like if you want, I can tell you. I can make a
Maybe,
few.
I mean, maybe not a good idea to just go dropping spoilers everywhere on the stream, but yeah, that like, I mean, I could tell you right off the bat with when I saw pre-sequel and I compared it to two in the original Borderlands, I was like, these characters just don't seem as memorable. Though Borderlands One's cast wasn't all memorable, to be honest. I mean, if anything, um,
Lilith and Brick and well, actually, all four of them were pretty memorable, at least throughout most of two, because
hmm.
there's a specific thing that happens to Roland that kind of carries on throughout the thing.
Yeah, I know about that part. And like, I guess the thing for me is, it's like Lilith is the one character from Borderlands One that I think is really, really memorable. Roland's a close second, though. Mostly that's because of how heavy his involvement in two was for me. Um,
Yeah,
but I, I, I struggled to think of Mordecai, and then I can't even remember the fourth one. If I'm
Brick.
Brick, okay.
He shows up in both 2 and 3.
I
Two,
couldn't even remember his involvement in two, to be honest with you, though. It might have been after I stopped playing, though I kind of
he
doubt it.
he's the Slap King.
Oh, wow. Huh.
Yeah, if and by the way, you said that you got past the specific part I was mentioning. That if that's true, then you've definitely done some of the stuff where you end up killing the people from the pre-sequel.
Then you know what?
For
I,
instance,
I feel like I feel like that goes to show that I'm right in saying that those characters aren't very memorable.
oh yeah, no, they're not recognizable at all. In fact, I know for a fact one of them isn't even like a main story that you kill them in. It's a side story
Oh man.
that you have to go look for them.
You
I
know,
think
I will say
there's
though.
a couple of characters I don't think you kill. For instance, Claptrap.
Right,
Obviously.
right. But like I think over the cast of pre-sequel and but I think they called her Athena. She had a shield. She's like the one playable character from pre-sequel I remember aside from Claptrap because he's Claptrap. Um, at least I think Claptrap was playable in pre-sequel. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest.
he was.
I think
He
I think I've memory hold that entire game.
yeah, not gonna lie, that I didn't even play it because I wasn't interested in it.
Hmm.
Because Borderlands 2 was like the last one I was interested in, and one of the
Hmm.
main reasons why I got into it was because of how much I liked playing, like, for instance, Krieg.
Hmm.
He was like the only character I played as,
Was
and
Creek DLC?
yeah,
Okay, I thought that he was him and what's her name that had the mech.
uh, I forget her name, but she was the Necromancer.
Yeah. I mean, in my head, I just refer to her as Mechromancer, but I know that
Gage.
was just her class. Gage, yeah, Gage. Yeah, she was cool.
Yeah,
Really, I think I'm willing to say that Borderlands 2 was peak Gearbox character design. Honestly, I like it had a really strong cast, and I say that as somebody who is not like the world's biggest Borderlands fan by any stretch of the means. I just think those games had a good enough cast. It was fun enough to play when I was a teenager. I liked it then. Not as hot on the franchise now, though we've had our discussion about like how much better the mechanics in 3 are. I just have to be able
yeah.
to play a video game for longer than 5 minutes anymore.
See, the thing about Krieg though, with him, they actually one of the things that got me into Borderlands 2 is whenever they released Krieg specifically, they had like the standard trailer like Gage had where
Hmm.
it just showed her ability and stuff, but they also had like a cinematic trailer that was kind of showing a little bit of like what his character was about, like not like the way he would play, but the way he acted.
Hmm.
Specifically, it's called a meat bicycle built for two,
Okay.
and it's just it starts off with like him talking about like how he can't control himself basically, and then it's just It's really good. It's something that if you ever interested in in any of the Borderlands games, or for instance, since Krieg is the main person of the new DLC, definitely check out the Meat Bicycle built for 2,
Okay.
because it basically sums up who Krieg is and what he's all about.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that might be a good enough place to call it. Aside from saying that opening night live for Gamescom is happening next Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. They've announced a Ratchet and Clank PS5 demo, Fall Guys Season 2, Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, World of Warcraft Shadowlands, a full proper trailer for um, Doom Eternal Ancient Gods, which is the first DLC for Doom Eternal. That'll be making an appearance there. Little Nightmares 2, and Medal of Honor Above and Beyond, which is a VR title. All of those will be showing up at ONL. There's apparently a lot of unannounced titles that we know nothing about that'll be showing up there as well. Gamescom is kind of the European E3, and I'm glad they're still going. They've got Jeff Keighley hosting the show and all. I'm not sure if we're able to commit to a show right now where we cover that, but I think I would like to, if at all possible. Maybe check later in the week. We might do another podcast down the road, maybe Wednesday, maybe sometime this week, not Wednesday, Thursday, or sometime this weekend, where we talk about more of that. So, yeah, a little disappointed that again, Trey's lost in Walmart. Matt is truly voiceless. The poor man. And we'll hopefully have some of those details ironed out by then.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, at this moment, as I go to close the show for tonight, I would like to give an eager and earnest shout out to a good man named Jordan Taylor, who has helped this whole episode stay together.
I don't know, man. I think you could have handled it.
I don't know. I'm not a solo podcast man. You lock me in a room with a microphone, leave me as the only one there, shut all the lights off. Why don't you just tell me? Oh yes, there's going to be water that drips out of the pipes on the ceiling. Just go ahead and drink that. That's what you'll tell me. That's what podcasting alone is like. I go insane. I'm one man locked in a tiny little room. The walls are closing in. Oh no!
You're right, man.
Not if I'm podcasting alone. However, if you're here, I'm fine.
I suppose it does make it easier when you're actually talking to someone compared to just talking to the empty void.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, Jordan, you have any last words for tonight?
Everyone have a good night and a good day tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And with that, I guess I can say, take your vitamins, respect your parents, drink some milk, invest your savings into a college fund, and have a good night. So, with that, bum, ba, da, bum, 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 bum.